Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this edition of Unpopular Review. While you're at it, why don't you give us a follow on these beautiful social media platforms known as Facebook and Twitter at Unpopular Review. But there's another one. Give us a follow on Instagram. We got funny pictures, we got updates, and we have things where we tell you everything that's going on. So why don't you give us a follow on Instagram at unpopular.review. And now, back to the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Unpopular Review, Entertainment Edition. Over here, 8 Tales of Terror. 3 movies left. We're on the second one of my choice, which is why I'm here, even though I'm not even in Orlando right now. And let's go ahead and bring our co-hosts. We have 1, See the Superior. 2, Live or Die. 3, The Game. And 4, special guest for a couple segments here, Puerto Rican Princess. How is everybody doing this wonderful evening?
Fantastic.
Yeah, y'all sound fantastic. Y'all sound dry as heck, man. I don't know what that was, man.
What do you want us to do here?
Hey, we are reviewing Saw, 2004's Saw. This movie was so spectacular. Let me explain something. There's a few.
Let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
Okay, that sound like I was about to hit a promo? Like this is the movie. I've been waiting for this movie. I had to do this movie. This was the first movie. At the end of it, I actually stood up and clapped. Right. I almost did it for Star Trek First Contact, but it was this movie that got me out of my seat and clap, and I didn't even want to see it. But my friend said, "Hey, Chris, you got to go see this movie. It is amazing. It's one of the best twists you've ever seen in your life." And Lord knows that man, whose name also was James, but not the same James, was 100% correct. I enjoyed this movie in 2004. I enjoyed this movie in 2020. I want to talk about it. Before we talk about it, I want to hear a synopsis. Live or Die. Take it away.
All right, let's do this. Saw 1. 2 strangers awake to find themselves chained to opposite ends of a dilapidated bathroom with no idea as to how they got there, and only a body and tape recorder separating them. If the 2 men are to escape their fates before time runs out, all secrets will have to be placed on the table.
All right.
So now we're going to jump into a segment we call the best of, worst of, and we're going to let our guest host, the Puerto Rican Princess herself, you've seen her on Love and Hip Hop and those shows on VH1, but and she's going to tell us what she loved the most about this, her favorite movie you saw. Charmaine, take it away.
My favorite part is you have another victim of the show. Her name is Amanda. She's a junkie, all the stuff, and they put the something in her head, so she had to survive. The only thing she did, she moved, she was like panic, like little panic and stuff. And then the clock comes, it's like 60 seconds, and then she had to kill somebody. But that person was numb. He don't know like what's going on. So she opened his shirt, it's like a question mark, but he don't know, like you don't hear no scream when she's stabbing him. She stabbed him and she got it, and she survived. Because I like the part like a woman is a survivor, and I like it when she survived it.
I agree with you. I thought that was probably for me, without spoiling, because I really don't want to spoil this movie. For those who haven't seen it, but I think other than something that's obvious in this movie for those who have seen it, that's probably my okay, let me say this. Part 2 is my favorite for many different reasons. And I'm not going to spoil that for anybody who hasn't seen that. I may come back to that because I really, really enjoy that movie. But like you said, Charmaine, the fact that because at first she thinks the guy's dead because that's what the tape recording says. You know, the guy's dead. There's a body. and she has to go in his stomach with a scalpel and find this key and she doesn't even have 60 seconds because she was freaking out, like you said. But
Yeah.
the fact that she does that, and then he wakes up midway, and the guy is obviously freaking out, but her drive to live, and you could argue because she was an addict or whatever, I don't know, but
She was an addict.
No, but I'm saying like that she didn't care, and I don't think she didn't care because of that. She just wanted to live more than she was hurt that she was killing somebody, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought that was a great sequence. I agree with you. That's one of the best sequences in the movie. Anybody else have any other ones?
I'll go. My favorite scene in the movie was probably, I don't know. I'm sure this is a lot of people's favorite scene, the last scene, because the twist at the end. And all the stuff he had to do to get out. Let me just go ahead and put this on there. Spoiler alert. I'm not sure if it's a spoiler at this point in time because it is like how many years difference.
16.
But the dude, when he had to cut off his foot and all of that, and obviously he died. Like they didn't show it, but there's no way that he didn't not die trying to go for help. He was going to bleed to death.
Well, and put up spoiler alert again, and then cover your ears.
Hold up.
I'm joking.
No, believe me, I don't have plans on watching it.
Go on. I won't say anything.
Oh, so there's no way he's alive. Did they really pull that in the next movie?
This is America. This is America. How? Money talks. Money.
Can I say it? Like how he was survive of that part?
To be fair, I haven't seen it. I just found that out. I thought that he died too, but I just found out that apparently he's alive. And
he is. They revealed it in the last Saw. I won't tell you how, but understand he is still alive.
Yeah,
so they didn't mention it in Saw 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. They just mentioned it recently.
Yes,
it was the last one. Well, technically not the very last one, but
not the last one. The following one. The following one. He's alive. So 6.
No.
Yeah, well, they was just pulling it out their ass at this point because there's no way he survived that. Did you see his face?
No, I agree with you. In the original trilogy, which is what we assume it was supposed to be, he is supposed to have been dead.
Yes.
That's just a thing that they, like you said, they just pulled out of somewhere to have another twist. But in the original trilogy, he is supposed to have died and bled out.
Yeah, he bled out. Yeah.
To your point, him being alive later on, it makes no sense. 1, and 2, it takes away from the fact that the acting in that scene is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like he looks like somebody who is bleeding out and is struggling with all his strength to tell this guy, hey, I'm coming back. I got to get out of here. And when he's panicked over what's happening to his wife and child, and we see it peppered throughout when he says, I didn't cheat on my wife, and he erupts, like whereas every other time he's very calm and sedate. That time, and it starts to ratchet up. I agree. It's phenomenal acting. And really what is like a stage play because they're only in one set, these two guys, in spoiler alert, these two guys, and they're going back and forth, and one is the hyper one and one is the more calm one, and then the tables flip in an instant, and I mean they go there. It's a great scene.
And I think this is
now question.
Go ahead.
Did he cheat on his wife or did he not cheat on his wife?
He
because
did,
who's that chick that he went to go meet?
He was gonna do it, that he didn't do it. Because somebody called and then he didn't do it. But they ain't do nothing.
No, he didn't do anything that time. They had before.
Yeah, before.
Oh.
Probably don't show it, but he probably did.
Okay. That makes sense.
But the time he was being recorded, they didn't do it.
Yes.
No.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, but you could tell that they had already had established a relationship.
Yeah, because remember the hospital scene. She's one of the interns or the residents.
Oh yeah.
That is true.
So it establishes that they do have a relationship.
Oh wow, he started playing with his food at work. Okay.
Trash. But you know what? I think this is the first movie that I've seen that actor in a more serious role. All the movies that I've seen him in before, like Robin Hood Men in Tights. I've seen him in I think he was in Ella Enchanted and like a couple different like comedy family films.
Was it the Princess Bride?
He was a liar.
He wasn't liar. He was the goof.
Magoo! You was
I've never
Magoo!
seen him.
Oh my god. Yo, when I saw him in this movie, the only thing I could think of is him doing this as the Claw, and I got so mad. I got so
my favorite
mad.
with him in it though is
I
Glory.
hated that.
That's the first time that I remember seeing him in a movie. He played he was second in command in the 54th Massachusetts Infantry in Glory.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's a great,
in
great
that movie, watch out, because
Oh,
here comes the
yes.
claw. The claw is coming to get you.
No, nothing can stop the Claw. You know, I even did that to children, like when I around that time.
No, don't make that. Don't make
The
that.
Claw.
Okay,
The
FBI is
Claw.
watching. FBI is watching. Vic, what's your best scene? What's your worst scene in this movie?
All right, skip me right now because I gotta think of my.
Wow.
I gotta think. I still gotta think of my worst scene. You know why? Because I really like this movie, and I don't really have
Right
a.
now, we're doing the best stuff.
Are you eating some of the
There's a
bird
couple
food?
of them. No, there's a couple of them, honestly. So
Go
now,
ahead.
okay. First, when Danny Glover got his throat slit, that was crazy because that really brought me into the movie. I didn't see that coming.
Mhm.
Because truth be told, like,
You weren't into the movie until an hour into it.
no, I was just trying to figure out what the hell was going on, you know. So, you know, my favorite scene was the very end when you get the big reveal. That's clearly, I think, everybody's favorite scene in this movie. But aside from that, one thing that really resonated with me was the scene where the girl that escaped, she was explaining the whole situation, and then, damn, I was going to use this as my quote, but she said, "He helped me." So that's pretty much just showing that he pretty much just helped her kick the drug. Because basically what he did is that he scared her straight. And I felt like that whole situation was really interesting because it made me think, because truth be told, I haven't watched this movie before, and I never really got into the whole Saw phenomenon in the 2010s. And I feel like that's unfortunate because I feel like I missed out. Because it was very cool, and now I'm curious to see what happens in the next few movies, because obviously there's a sequel. So
That's gonna be
the irony of you not watching a movie franchise that has umpteen sequels and you being a sequel lover that you are. That is the most ironic thing that you've ever
Isn't it? Isn't it? I don't know. I guess I was just being nonconformist.
I won't say anything about what you just said because I'll let you just watch the other movies, and then you'll tell us. Maybe we'll come back to Saw 2 at a later point, and you'll tell us if you still have that same POV. But I agree with you that Amanda interrogation, or not interrogation, but when she's telling her story to the detective, that was a great sequence, and how she says that he helped me. You know, I'll say it like that.
All right, who's next?
I'll go. I'll give mine. We already said me and Charmaine agreed on the Amanda sequence. All I'm gonna say about the other scene that I really enjoy is Game Over. I'm not gonna describe it any more than that. Also, the fact that the lights are out. That again, I love psychological horror. So the context of that, when somebody says "Game Over," lights are out. That was enough for me. I understand why Chris wanted to stand up and applause. And then again, to Chrissy's point, when Dr. Gordon, he loses it, he hears his wife on the phone and she's screaming, and he hears his child screaming, and he snaps. That is his breaking point. And again, a little deeper into why I like these movies. They say that every man has his price, right? Well, it could be argued that every person has their breaking point. I think that I'm a generally even-keeled person. There are certain things that I have high tolerance for, certain things that I don't. I don't like stupidity. I have a very low tolerance for that. When something doesn't make sense, as you saw me in the early episodes, I'll lose it, right? So that wouldn't jive well for me. But when I watch movies like this and you're put in a situation and you put yourself into these characters' positions, I always have to ask myself, what would I do? That's why I love horror movies, right? To the point of this whole theme of this whole month. And to see these two guys in there and how they figure out the different things. Is it too easy? Is it actually thought out? Is it realistic how they come across these different clues? as I said to Chris a couple of weeks ago, this very much is a Riddler movie, a rated R Riddler movie. And I like the fact that people have to use their minds, their wits. They have to control themselves in order to get out of situations. And I do firmly believe I don't want to be put in a position to really figure this out. But I firmly believe that if people generally, I like the fact that people have to use their minds, their wits. They have to control themselves in order to get out of situations. That's me from the past. So I like the fact that if people really figure things out, and you'll hear specialists say this, you oftentimes can get out of situations because the thief is not going to be some jigsaw. They're going to be somebody who does something, a passion type move or whatever like that. And oftentimes you can get away. So I just love to put myself in their position. And that was a great moment. It was great acting by Kerry Hughes, who I thought he was phenomenal. That makeup and how he was acting in conjunction with the makeup, it was great. Amanda in her sequence, when you realize what's going on, and then she realizes that the little pin has come out of that stopwatch thing, and she has less than 60 seconds, it's go time. And this is going to be a strong statement. I hope if I were ever in a situation like that, I could do what has to be done. I never want to be in a situation like that, but I hope that I have the steel to be able to do what has to be done to get out. I would love to be able to, ironically, this is not literal, Chris, you're laughing, but I would love to be able to say I had the nerve to do what needed to be done to get out of that situation or to figure out what's going on. I love movies like this.
All right.
So you want to be put in a situation where you have to cut your foot off?
No.
What I'm saying is I wouldn't even want to be put in a situation where I'm kidnapped. Right? I don't like to be at the mercy of another human being. I don't think that human beings are good inherently. I don't believe that at all, personally. Right? So I wouldn't even want to rely on another human being for a glass of water. Let's keep it real, right? That said, if ever I was kidnapped and somebody, let's say, put me in the trunk of their car, could I calm myself down enough to remember, hey, I've seen shows like this. They say that there's a little latch right here. Try it first. Or is the first thing that I'm going to do would be panic and freak out, use up all my oxygen, not pay attention to the turns. Do you understand what I'm saying? I like to believe that I could control myself. Not that I wouldn't be freaked out because somebody just put me in the trunk, but that I can control my emotions enough that I could see my way out of the situation. And then when I'm safe, when the situation's resolved, freak out as much as you need to. But in that moment, it's go time, and you really have to go. I think we said in the last episode, Chrissy said it. They're hiding and they're breathing heavy as hell. Who doesn't hear you? If you need to, don't breathe.
Well, I will say, if you've ever been in like a super duper scary situation like that, it's very hard to control your breathing and your shaking and stuff like that. So I guess we say it now looking at a movie like, oh, why are they breathing so hard? But I guess if you think about it in the situation, it would
that adrenaline is going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't hold them. I don't hold them to the same task, but it's just I love how they solve it, and I would want to know because some people would just panic and they just black out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And other people can panic and still be like, I'm still in the situation. And Dr. Gordon, for most of the movie, he was panicked. I want to get out of here. I don't want to be here. But you need to tell me what you know. Stop messing around. We need to work together and figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really Dr. Gordon who, even when we think that he's lost it, really, he shot the guy in the shoulder intentionally, knowing that he would be fine. He would get up and he could help him when the other guy came in there because he was watching the whole time. You know? And that forethought and thinking like that, you have to do you have to think ahead. You can't just react always. You have to be proactive. I believe.
Logical.
Yes. And I love that. I love, Chris knows this. This is my movie. As much as he loves Riddler, I love logical things. I just am drawn to it. We're going to transition a little bit though to worst stuff.
No, we're actually going to let me go on my best stuff, which I haven't got a chance. No, I haven't gone. So I want to go. All right, my movie. Want to go? Right? Got a couple of them. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about the key to that chain is wherever. But it was a great scene, that end scene. Him get up. It was great because you never thought, if you said you did, you're a liar. You never thought. Spoiler or not, you never thought that dead body was the one doing it. I'll tell you a scene. I'll tell you a scene that I like. I'll tell you a few scenes that I like. All right, I don't have as many as Vic. He had them ready, but I tell you a few scenes that I like. I like the scene where he was the dude who everybody thought possibly was the kidnapper, was being chased, I should say, because he was trying to rush to the place. Because boom, 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 and he was being chased by who was it? Not Danny Glover. Yeah, Danny Glover and stuff like that. And the camera effect, right? It was also going to be my worst scene because I could tell they weren't really in the car outside and driving and stuff like that. But the camera effect made it, very suspenseful. But I will say it's the word suspenseful because I was at the edge of my seat, like, what's going on? Hey, if he's driving the car trying to kill these people, who's shocking these guys on the chains in the bathroom? Yeah. I'm a little confused. I think there's more going on to this than meets the eye. Loved it. Loved that scene. That's what I realized. Hey, I already knew the guy wasn't really the guy, but that's why I was like, oh, you know what? Something about to go down. I
highlight that because I want you to go back to that. How did you know that?
How did I knew something was about to go down?
No. How did you know that the guy that Zepp, that Danny Glover's character is chasing? When did you figure out that it wasn't him?
Immediately, because they would have showed his face. Okay. All right, because they already showed his face. That's one. Mm-hmm. Two, he didn't seem all there to be able to be smart enough to plan this entire thing that was going on.
Did you know who it was? Who ended up? Okay.
Not at all. Okay. Not at all.
You thought it was just a character that nobody saw.
Say it again, Kristen.
Did this movie come out after Lost? Remember that TV series Lost?
Before,
okay, because he was on that show Lost.
He was one of the others.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, when I saw him, I was instantly suspicious because of that character. So I was like, I thought he was the killer. But I still don't understand how this old man who has some kind of terminal cancer could lay.
I could tell you, but you have to watch the other movies for me to really tell you. Okay,
I haven't seen it.
Right.
Yeah. So they do in the original trilogy. I'll say in the original trilogy, they do thoroughly explain it, and that's what without ruining it, because it 1 and 2 are very, very good, and just think of them as one complete movie.
Okay.
So it I believe, I don't know this to be the case, but I believe that. Okay, so the guy that's chained up, not Dr. Gordon, but the other guy, the photographer,
Adam,
who wrote the movie. His name is Lee Wanell, right?
He played Adam.
Pardon?
No, the character he played, his name is Adam.
Yeah, Adam. He wrote the movie, right? And I believe that 1 and 2, they are so good and they gel so well together. I believe that they're written at the same time, just as one whole entire spec script. Now they could have written them separately, but that just shows more of his talent, in my opinion. But 1 and 2, think of it as one entire movie, and they do thoroughly explain what is actually happening, because we remember the movie is always framed that we only see the POV from the people that we're following, Dr. Gordon and Adam. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's on the other side of the wall, the game over wall, right? Mm-hmm. So there's more going on than we realize. I'll put it to you that way.
All right.
Yeah.
So now, Chris, did you finish your best scenes, or are we on to worst scene?
No. It's like a struggle. All right, so continue. Continue on my best scene. Also, like the part where Adam actually is abducted. He's going through it was a little forced, but he was going through his enormous apartment, and he was flashing. His apartment was big. Let's just be real, right? He was flashing to try to get some light, shed some light on the subject of what's going on in his room. It was utterly ridiculous, but entertaining. So I like that. I like the scene really. But the scene that I'm going to pick, actually my second favorite scene, was around the beginning, where you saw all of Jigsaw's, all his people that he was helping, so to speak. And I always make fun of this. I was saying it with somebody else back in the day, and I'll say it now. So there was one person, right, who had poison through his veins, and the anti-serum for the poison.
Can you crumple that more?
Yeah. right, so he had COVID, right? He had coronavirus, right? And the vaccination for the coronavirus was in a safe, right? And he had to find the combination of the safe by looking through on the wall. It was dark as hell in that room. He had to have a candle, and his body was full of wax.
Yes.
If there was more of a "I want you to die," scene, right? If anybody who had to get,
yes,
let me tell you something. Amanda had it easy compared to this guy. This guy had no chance in hell of surviving. Right?
And they had glass all on the floor.
He had glass on the floor, and you had. Hey, by the way, you have 3 minutes. Find this combination, man.
and don't forget,
he didn't got the 3 minutes again. He burned.
Yeah, because there was no way he was going to survive, man. There was no way.
That little candle.
He was poisoned. He was walking on glass in his bare underwear.
And
he had numbers all over the wall with a fire stick or a candle, body full of wax. There is no chance in hell you surviving. So one of the lines the detective was saying was, he's not really a murderer. He finds ways for people to kill himself. I disagree with her on that one because no, you killed this guy. This guy had no chance of surviving.
Legally, is that? I don't think that's the case. Legally, he would
Go ahead, make this make sense.
No. There is a charge for that. Like for instance, if you drive the car, right, and Chris and Vic and myself go into the bank and rob it, you are just as culpable as we are because you knew that you're driving us to the bank and we killed somebody, let's say, or shot somebody. You are and they died. You can be charged with murder. It's felony murder. That's what it is. Because you knew that driving us to what we were planning to do could reasonably result in somebody getting harmed. Okay, does that make sense the way I said that?
Yeah.
So him putting him in, as Chris says, him putting him in his drawers with no shoes and socks on in a room full of glass and dousing him in flammable whatever he was doused in and writing graffiti numbers all over the walls with this tiny candle. He knew that there was a good chance he would die. So that's felony murder. As opposed
he didn't know there was a good chance. He knew he was going to die. Yeah. You were going to die. You were not surviving that. I'm sorry. You were not surviving that.
Which one would you pick to be in? The Razor, Amanda's Bear Trap, or the Candle Man?
Bear Trap.
Yeah.
Knowing that the guy is alive.
I'm Chris. All right, so I don't know this guy. All right, it's either him or me. It ain't gonna be me. All right, so let's go ahead and move to our worst scenes of this movie, where we discuss scenes that aren't as popular to us, and we'll start to go again with our lovely guest, Puerto Rican Princess. What was some of your worst scenes, since you didn't like this movie, of this movie?
The worst scene is when Danny go with when David Tab's tattoo partner chased the guy and running, and then he died. The only thing that's gonna be pissed off, like, okay, they sliced Danny, but I also don't know, they don't show the episode if he survived the slice in his throat. He was just holding and keep on going, but the blood is like going down. And it make no sense, like trying to save the other person and stuff, and then they try to you shooting John, but you try to have it survive, and then John ran somewhere you shooting, and I don't know how the Chinese guy passed away.
Well, the Chinese guy got his head blown off with the shotguns. Wow. But to your point about Detective Tapp being able to run, he gets his throat sliced. Like almost to the jugular, right? And he's bleeding out a lot, and he loses a lot of energy quick. Okay, it was like Lovecraft Country. Spoiler alert. So, Chrissy got that reference. Vic, I don't know if you're still watching, but so he goes downstairs.
I'm on episode 9.
Okay, he goes downstairs. And he's bleeding out. And I'm like, homie, you're already an old man. You might as well sit down and just call it a wrap. You should have called for backup. Because his partner does say, shouldn't we call for backup? And again, he said
no.
No. And I'm thinking, who does that? It makes sense that he was thrown out of the
You know who does it?
You know, no. I mean, it makes
know,
sense that he was thrown out of the police force because he was completely reckless. And if you get your throat slit open, you have this guy with these drills right next to his head. You know.
Spoiler alert! I didn't know he survived.
You have Chrissy's personal information. There's no reason to spoil it for everybody. I didn't know that. But
you know what?
You know, how does he make it downstairs and he's not dead? Because the next scene he has like the wound, you know, from his neck, like you said, and I'm like, he should have bled out a long time ago.
So this completely changes my worst scene.
Don't think about that. What Ricky just said.
Well, it was my worst scene because I was applauding this movie for being so progressive. You know, in 2004, they had, you know, a very diverse cast. They had Asians, they had blacks, they had whites, they had everybody there. But then I was like, they just kill off the Asian guy and they killed off the black guy like every other horror movie. So that was going to be my worst scene. I was like, okay, well, how come they had to die? Mm-hmm. But, you know, everyone else, not everyone else, but other people got to live. It didn't make sense that they chose the minorities to die for me. But now that I know that Danny Glover did not die, it changes my
in my eyes, he's dead. I don't know what they're.
Oh, they're going off canon. The canon is that he died.
I said, I stopped watching after 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and I say that the highlight of that is 1 and 2 as one movie. Vic, I hope you're taking notes. 1 and 2 is one long movie, okay, and then 3 it trails off.
Okay.
After that, then they said, "Hey, we're still making a lot of money even after 3. Let's keep this roller coaster going."
Like the Fast and Furious movies.
And just started making up whatever.
What, you say? Hell no! I didn't even see the first one until I had to for this show. So no, I have not.
Maybe you can talk to each other privately while we continue with our worst of scene. Chris, did you have any worst stuff that you wanted to get to?
Yeah, I had worst of scene. This is actually something you mentioned part of the best of scene. You were talking about the great acting of Robin Hood, and I'm gonna tell you something. I disagree. When he was cutting off his foot and he and Adam were, about to make love, holding hands, I had to say,
he crawled over to him.
I thought I was being played. Right? That's how bad the acting was. I thought I was being played. I was like, oh, I was thinking Robin Hood was Jigsaw. That's what I was thinking. I thought he was testing. He was like, would I lie?
Even after he cut off his foot.
I thought he was just. I thought it was all part of the game. Yeah. You call it bleeding to death. I call it horrible acting. I was not happy with that. I was not happy because I was actually fooled and thinking he was something that he wasn't. And then I went back and was like, oh no, he's just not a good actor. But I knew he wasn't a good actor because of all these movies we named. He was a good actor. Let me tell you something. There are a lot of people out there. There are a lot of people out there who are not good actors and they seem to get roles. Shout out to Nicolas Cage. It's just terrible. I think last week we reviewed
watching. I still enjoy some of your movies.
No, Nicolas Cage, you're a horrible actor, Ghost Rider. And then we also have Bill Pullman. You are a horrible actor, right? Carrie, there's a reason why, besides Robin Hood Men in Tights, you always get a supporting character.
Ooh, that's a hard shot.
That was a great movie.
You know what else was a hard shot? The love taps that well, I'm just saying. He and Adam were holding hands and they were all like, no, don't leave me. At least the other guy, he's a writer.
Trauma bond. They're both going through this trauma together. All they have is each other.
Let me just say this. If
Chrissy, no, don't say this. Chrissy, if you're going to sit here and you're going to interrupt and try to give me that Waka Flocka you just spewing, I'm going to cut it back with you and tell you to go haunt an opera because you don't know what you're talking about. Right? The thing was terrible. It was awful. I did not like that scene in a very good movie. It was not good. And that's my worst scene. Let's go down to the game and how you play it.
Well, to be honest with you, I had a really tough time finding a worst scene in this movie because it was a bit of a roller coaster ride throughout. I mean, I guess I would have to say the very beginning because, if you've never seen this movie and you don't know what's going on, it can cause a little bit of confusion. And if you get past that part and you start,
can I call BS on what you're saying? Can I do that real quick?
I want to know which part he's talking about in the beginning.
I want to know. He said, if you've never seen this movie before and you're watching it, you don't know what's going on. Isn't that the point of any movie you watch it for the first time?
You know what? She Fly, which I hated.
What other movie were you confused at the beginning?
Okay.
To your point, Vic.
I didn't know why the guy was there. I wanted to know why he was there. I didn't know why he was there. He was just all of a sudden coming out of the tub and tied to the thing. And it just went right like that. Like there was no explanation as to why he was. You know what I mean? So like the thing is that you go into this movie and you know that somebody's gonna saw their foot off. You know what I mean? But like, you know, the first character, like you have no idea why the hell he's there. Hold up, here he is. This guy. Like you don't know. You see him there, you don't know what's going on. He's the first person that you see. So right then and there, you don't know what the hell's going on until you see the doctor, and then until you hear the tape, and you start going into the scenes. You're just looking at it like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? But you have to
like the non-linear direction of the movie.
In the very beginning, but at the same time, now after going through it, I completely understand. You know, and this is why I say like it's very difficult to find, because this movie is a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster with a great twist at the end. So it's very difficult to find a bad scene, and you know, Chris has to be the one to just pull me out on the bullshit. But it's all right because
Vic, to your point, Vic, and remember what I said, that 1 and 2 is one large movie. I said to you a little bit ago, you didn't like the non-linear direction of the movie. Remember what I just said, the non-linear direction.
And that's how part 2 is clearly going to start.
I just told you 1 and 2 is one whole movie.
Yeah.
And it's non-linear direction. Two on those words. All right, let me give you my worst. My worst, nobody ironically has brought it up. And it's right after the little girl. She's looking at somebody clearly in a rocking chair. We don't see who it is, the audience. And they're saying something inaudibly to her. She gets up calmly. Why? I don't know. Maybe she lives in a great neighborhood. And she goes to her parents' bedroom. The mom is there. She says, "Mom, there's a man in my room. I need daddy." She doesn't say, "Why do you only need him, not me?" But she goes to the father. The father tucks in the bed. He's a jerk. He doesn't look under the bed. He doesn't do the whole routine, the whole shebang. Had he done that, he wouldn't have woken up in a dirty bathroom. But he just goes about and he says, "Hey, there's nobody in here, dummy. I got to meet this Asian chick, right?" And he tucks her in the bed. Now, the father gets into an argument with the wife and he leaves. The girl then goes, well, I can't scream, but she screamed in a child scream that was clearly, "Oh my God, this is not my favorite show, but oh my God, the man that I told you about previously is back and he's coming to get me now." The mother hears it, looks at the camera, and then slowly runs and jogs to the room, opens up the door, sees somebody in her bed sheets like a ghost, okay, like Michael Myers,
right? Go back
over the daughter, and then she pauses again for another beat, and then she says, "Oh yeah," and then tries to weakly fight them. I said to myself at that point, "Mother, you're worthless. Get away from me. Let the man take me. I'll deal with it myself," because clearly she was absolutely no help. That was my worst scene.
Very true.
Chrissy, go ahead.
Oh no, it's fine, Ricky. So I already went for my worst scene.
Oh, you did? All right, cool. All right, in that case, first off, let me say, Puerto Rican Princess, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Unpopular Review Entertainment with Saul. Hopefully we'll have you back. Yeah, hopefully we'll have you again soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come right back after this commercial break, find out what we're reviewing next Tuesday here at UPR Live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Unpopular Review.
razors on his right hand.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Unpopular Review Entertainment Edition, reviewing the movie Saw next Tuesday at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. We're actually going to be reviewing Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors. And that should be a very interesting one. The last final week of 8 Tales of Terror. And it's just getting better and better if you don't include week number 2. Mm-hmm. But I am the executive consultant, joined by C Superior Live or Die, as well as the game. And we're going to go into our next segment, which is none other than quotables.
Yes. So who would like to go first?
There we go.
Well, Vic, it looks like he's still thinking of his, so I'll go. I don't mind going first. I wrote down, actually, I'm actually happy I'm going first because that means I can beat you guys to the punch to this daggone quote, because I'm sure everyone did this quote because it's the most iconic one of the film and most memorable. It's the when, of course, when Jigsaw, whoever the guy, whatever name he's going by, is saying, most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you, not anymore. And I thought that was cool. See, that's a cool quote. That's, synonymous with this movie. Also, actually, that's all I wrote down. I have another one, but now that I'm reading it, I don't like it anymore. So I'm going with that one. Best quote, best line of the movie.
DJ Khaled.
Another one.
No, congratulations, you played yourself, because she was saying it like she had another quote, and then she said, that's the only quote I have. So I said, okay.
No, I do have another quote. I'll read it, but I don't like it. I'll read it. When I was reading it, you don't like to be prepared, guys. I always have a backup in case you guys steal my quote.
Mm-hmm.
But here we go. I said, I don't give a crap if you're covered with peanut butter and had a 15 hooker gangbang. I'm like, I've never heard that line anywhere else. So that one I wrote down for my quotables. Boom.
All right, Chris, you want to jump in there with yours since this is your pick?
I'll go after you.
All right. I'll go game unless you want to go. All right.
Okay.
Huh?
I'll go.
Oh, okay.
So clearly by the name, my favorite quote in this movie. Oh, wait a minute. I just noticed that Christy's not doing this. Oh,
yeah,
wow. Okay,
I was doing something on my phone. That's why I'm editing stuff.
I just noticed that. Anyway, clearly by the name, my quote is, I want to play a game.
Would you like to play a game?
I would like to play a game. Because that's how he starts off. I mean, that is one of the most iconic parts of this movie, because that's where he really brings you in. As soon as he says those,
what's the quote?
I want to play a game. Because every time he says that, and I think he says it about 4 times in this movie, he kind of like brings you in and tells you the whole story as to what it is that you got to do and how you got to get out and all of that, and why you are chosen and all of that. So like, that's my favorite quote. Every single time that he says, "I'd like to play a game," because then it just like raises your eyebrow and makes you intrigued as to like, okay, what's gonna happen next.
That's also my favorite quote from the movie War Games, but clearly this is yours from Saw 1. Last week you never mind. Anyway,
get out.
Quotables. But let me say my quote. I thought you were going to pick this one, Vic. Game over. I thought that was an iconic shot. I'll get more into that later. My final thoughts. Chrissy took my other one. She was right. Congratulations, you're still alive. Another one that Dr. Gordon says, which I loved, obviously, for the logic. He says, to overcome something, you have to understand what a perfect engine it is. That's how you fight disease. Obviously, live or die, make your choice. That's the puppet to Amanda. And then I like what Detective Tapp, a.k.a. Danny Glover, said to the Dr. Gordon. The sewer lines run under this neighborhood too, Doctor. And I love that because he gave an analogy of how they found a dentist who was doing something unseemly that I'm not going to mention. And they just caught him and he lived a few blocks down. So he was telling the doctor, don't think just because I'm dropping you off in this nice neighborhood that it's beyond belief that you would be guilty of something like these crimes that we have just been talking about. So he says the sewer lines run into this neighborhood too.
So before I go to my quotables, I want to add some stuff in here. I do remember another worst scenes when Danny Glover and Detective Han were talking about
Detective?
Han something. They were talking, and apparently they were looking at a picture, and because he looked at this picture and the sound and stuff like that, he was able to pinpoint exactly where Jigsaw's hideout was. It was crazy, like what detective skills, but you couldn't save your throat. Terrible. All right, so
I'll give you that.
This isn't a quote necessarily, but since Vic said it, I have to add to it. And this goes into some of our best scenes. When the TV turns on and you see a doll's head going, I was mimicking that for a while. Great scene because it's chilling. He says, "Hello, Amanda, I want to play a game." You're like, "Wow, this mofo's crazy." Loved it. Another scene, and I was like, "Wow, this movie is really crazy and I'm really serious, and I'm liking it. I'm loving it." Is actually when Amanda did survive and Mr. Bicycle comes out.
Yes.
All on it. And I thought that was just like creepy as hell.
Yes.
Like really creepy, which led into congratulations, Amanda. You have survived. Most people you're still alive. Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you, not anymore. And that's a scene, that's a line. So, damn you, Chrissy, for taking it. But that is a line that I've actually posted on Facebook constantly because it's exactly how I feel. Most people are ungrateful to be alive. They sit there, they whine, they cry, they moan, they bitch. But at the end of the day, you are alive. Right? So I know we all go through hard times, and we all have, but you are alive. And that's something to be very grateful for. So I love that line. But because Chrissy wanted to be a butthole and take it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to.
You guys had your chance to go first. You missed your chance.
I was reading comments in the private chat because somebody, called me out on something. But anyway, so here it goes. Hello, Mark. If you are so sick, then why do I have so many photos of you up and about? Let's put your so-called illness to the test. Right now, there's a slow-acting poison in your veins. The antidote is inside the safe. The combination to the safe is written on the wall. Hurry up and program it, but watch your step. By the way, that's a flammable substance spirit on your body, so I want to be careful with that candle if I were you. All the people you burn with your act just might have their revenge. The reason why I picked that is because it goes back to my best scene where I'm telling you, he didn't want this guy to survive. I can't do the Jigsaw voice at all, but if you listen to the words that he is saying, he was really offended by the fact that this guy goes around and acting like he's sick, but he's not sick. And then when you find out his situation, that he's terminal cancer, yet somebody's going around playing like they do have it when they don't. Yeah, he took that one very, very, very personally. You're going to die, mofo. Accessory before the fact, after the fact, during the fact, felony murder, whatever you want to call it. He was killing this dude. This dude is dead. That's quotables. Let's go ahead and keep moving since we're over time. Let's go straight to most people's favorite scene, which is recasted, where we pick somebody who can play the role just as well, if not better. And let's go ahead and start off with.
All right, let's go ahead and start off with.
Tease to who's going to start. If you don't mind, I can go first. I can start this off.
Sure, go right ahead.
Here we go. Well, I got a few of them. So let's first we're going to go to Lee Whannell, the writer of this movie. He played Adam. This is Adam right here for those who need to see who I'm talking about. But I said the whole time while I'm watching this movie, I said this man reminds me of somebody. I can't think of who it is. And then at the last minute, it occurred to me, he reminds me just like this, Ezra Miller. He looks smack like Ezra Miller. This is just a fun one for me because he reminded me of him so much during the thing. And I thought to myself, it would be very interesting to see Ezra Miller in a similar situation like that. And both of them being photographers of the sort, him and Justice League and everything like that. Next one I'm going to go to was mine, who occupied my worst scene in her week running. Okay. And that's Allison Gordon. But you know who I thought could play her and who I thought would bring the intensity, especially when she was fighting Zep at the end of the movie? Rebecca De Mornay in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. If you've never seen that movie, you need to see it. That is misery like on levels, okay? It's crazy. She does a great job in that one. You should see that movie. Maybe that'll come up later. A fun one that we're going to do, though, is Danny Glover. Now, we talked about it before. He got his throat slit. He was bleeding out, yet he was still alive. He made it through the whole movie. Then he's got his head shot off, but yet he's coming back in the sequels. Thanks a lot, Ricky, for spoiling that. And then he could figure out where the graffiti was coming from, as Chris says, in the warehouse, but he didn't know enough to figure out the other obvious things. Then he's weekly fighting Zep. And I mean, like, this is the worst cop ever. No wonder they threw you out, right? But I thought to myself, you know what? I've seen Danny Glover, and Danny Glover can bring it. This Danny Glover, aka Mr. from Color Purple, would never let you see the look of intensity. He's
Not
looking,
Mr.
if I even get a drop of blood, it's on and popping. And did she cut him? Not one time. Nobody messes with Mr. Another scene. Look at the intensity. You see what I'm saying? Get out of this house. That's Mr. But then I said to myself, you know who else also brings it? If you're not going to put Danny Glover in the role, let's keep it, because there's only two people of color in this whole movie that we've seen.
Yeah.
So let's keep it another person of color, this other black man. And I said Samuel L. Jackson. And this is hitting snakes on a plane. Look at that intensity. You see the ferocity? Those snakes knew he had enough. And so would Zep. He would not have missed that shot. Okay. Did you see Snakes on a Plane?
That's my recap too.
Jules. Look at that. Look at the intensity. Ezekiel, 25-17. Don't ever mess with me.
He would have been much better in that role.
You know what I'm saying? He would have been great. But if Mr. had been put in there, I want to highlight somebody else who we barely see, Zep, who we barely talk about, rather. Zep, he was a little wonky. He was one of the others, the leader of the others, I think, in Lost season, whatever, when they didn't write a script anymore. But I like this guy. He talked about Baba Yaga. Okay? David Dalmatian. Okay, we've seen him in Ant-Man 2, the movie that Chris secretly loves. And I thought he would be a great Zep for that one. And last but not least, we got to go to Jigsaw himself. And I have two people for Jigsaw. And if you've seen the end of this movie, you'll understand why I say this one right here, Jim Carrey being worked in Ghana. The sequence on Jigsaw is ripping stuff off of him. And it reminded me, I had to laugh. I know Chris is going to hate this because this is his movie. Hey, there you go. Cue Chris.
That wasn't me. That was actually Vic, but that's fine.
But
that was me.
Oh, it was Chrissy. Okay.
Oh, okay. But
it was well deserved.
Yeah, it reminded me of that. But on a serious note, if we're gonna do something, because when I give my final thoughts, I don't even know if Chris knows this, even though it's a Chris movie. I'm gonna give you the alternate title for what this movie was originally gonna be titled. But another one for Jigsaw, who I thought could be a real life person, Joseph Stitzel. Now, if you don't know who this man is, he's an Austrian who kept his own daughter captive for 24 years in a cellar that he created on his property. Okay? I'm not going to get into the story because it gets crazy beyond belief. It's a true story. And he was just convicted in 2008, okay, in 2008. And he had his own daughter captive for 20-something years. And I can't even say more because of the algorithm. But real life Jigsaw doing something like that, Joseph Stitzel.
He looks crazy. Great recasting. But hit the private chat with info because I'm curious about this guy. But okay. So who wants to go next?
I'll go next because my recasted is gone already.
What do you mean?
Because Sam Jackson was one of my recasted.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
Remember last week when you stole mine? The Undertaker? Remember? How does it feel? It stings.
It does.
An eye for an eye around here.
One now because and you know what though? I feel like a lot of people would have felt that way because I see 3 Sam Jacksons here. So it looks like a bunch of us felt that way about Sam Jackson taking that role. We all feel that he definitely would have brought definitely a little bit more spice, for lack of a better phrase. But the other person that I thought could probably do this job better, because when I see this guy, I just think Magoo. And maybe because I'm just a Liar fan, but I just see him and I just think Magoo. But the other person, even though, like, truth be told, he did do it well. Now I'm pretty much going to remember him from this movie. But I think that Doogie Howser could have done it better. Especially at that time. And the reason I say this is because at that time, he was still very much in people's minds as Doogie Howser. And, to see him commit adultery and to see him just in another light, I think would have pretty much just brought a great twist in this movie, because for a long time he was cast as Doogie Howser. And the fact that he was a doctor and all of that, and he was all like super calm and shit in the beginning of the movie. I think that this guy definitely would have done a really good job with this role.
Okay, yeah. I can't say that I can see it, but I understand your line, where you're coming from. I could, yeah. But I've only ever seen him in like comedies and stuff, like How I Met Your Mother.
I mean, you would have to look at Doogie Howser 20 years ago, but yeah, you know what I mean? Because now he's not seen that way, but that's pretty. Like a lot of people don't even remember Doogie Howser anymore, so.
All right, well, that was awesome. I'll just go ahead and go into mine. I only have one this time, guys, because when I saw this guy, you guys, what was it, Adam? I said, this guy reminds me so much of another person, and if you are a big Walking Dead fan, you might recognize him. But if you're not, you might recognize him from Gotham.
Yes.
Nice.
I could definitely see him playing this role, the sneaky, like he was like something about him was like you can't really, you don't know if you can trust him or not. He can play that both sides really well. So yeah, that was my one and only recasted. And from the reactions of my co-hosts, I'm going to take the crown of recasting this episode. I think we're going to see what Chris has, but so far I feel like I have the best one.
I do not give the crown to you.
I do believe that once again, as normal when it comes to the three of you, it's a lot of tomfoolery, and you damage the integrity of this segment when you see some of y'all.
Here we go.
Comedic recast it. You have to be serious. You have to take this.
I was very serious.
No, both of y'all false. I think the best one was Vic. I think y'all take it as a joke, and y'all shouldn't take it as a joke. You need to make sure. Right?
Do you think I'm joking about Mr.?
Did you hear the reaction of the crowd when I put up
that they would have let Jigsaw get away? No, Jules would have handled that. I'm dead serious.
So I'm saying this is that tomfoolery I'm talking about. We can't be having this.
I don't want Jigsaw to get away. No sequels.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to recast some people. I'm going to once again bring some seriousness, bring some integrity, bring some respect to this segment. That's what I do, and that's why I usually go after them in this segment. Let's go ahead and start off with this person because he's such a great actor, and I feel like he doesn't need to be recasted because he played it so well. I would have just changed his clothes in this movie, and the clothes I would have had him wear the whole movie. Is this outfit? This outfit because this guy was afraid of everything, right? I mean, you mentioned him earlier yourself, James. He said he didn't even look under his own daughter's bed because he was afraid the boogeyman
was afraid. I just said he didn't look. He didn't care.
Yeah, I read your mind. So he's like, "Hey, you know what? My daughter has somebody. I don't care. My daughter has somebody underneath the bed. I'm gonna go screw somebody else because." I don't care. I'm too afraid. Let me leave right now. This old man has a hole in his throat and can barely walk, but I'm more afraid of this guy than anybody else. No. He felt somebody flash him on the camera.
Yeah.
He doesn't investigate. What does he do? He goes to his car. Why?
He's afraid.
He knows why. All right. Anyway, that's one. So I had to replace his clothes. Besides that, great. Oh man, what was this? Oh, I have to replace him again. That's a shame. All right, well, that's fine. That's fine. We can replace him because I think this guy, I think he is a scaredy cat. But I know one person who could have played this role and really handled Jigsaw, and that's this guy, right?
Yeah.
This guy has the single most effective move in the cinematic history, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the claw, right? No, Chrissy, stop. The claw, right? Because the claw could have handled Jigsaw, right? James, what's wrong? No, I'm saying it's fine,
what
right?
Are you talking about?
You over here, you're not respecting the fact that the claw. Whatever.
I don't even know where that's from. What is that a reference?
That's from the movie Liar, Liar. You never saw Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey?
So we're gonna have to review that movie. Man.
No, we won't. Please don't. Please, God.
It was a good movie.
No, please, God, no. I don't want to watch that movie. That's not one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies.
Oh. You say you didn't see it.
Oh man,
that's not one of my favorite ones.
But you said
it came on TV. I started it. I stopped watching it. It was not one of my favorites. I only need 5 minutes to find out if I like something. Which is why I don't even need that to know that I don't want to watch the bully girls movie that Chrissy wants me to watch.
The Bully
And I
Girls.
certainly don't want to watch Liar Liar with Jim Carrey.
First of all, it's called Mean Girls. Right?
Bully Girls. That's all it is. Bully Girls. I didn't want to watch the lesbian movie that Chris recommended, Bridesmaids. That was trash too.
It was not trash. It was a good movie, right?
It was trash.
Okay, Chrissy.
But okay, so is that the end of your recasting?
No, I have one more recasting.
Okay,
right?
I was about to say because I'm still waiting on these life-changing recastings that you're supposed to.
I gave you the claw. That was the most life-changing one. But I want to recast this guy. This guy stole the movie from me, but I feel like somebody else could have did the job just well because he's how can I put this? He's experienced in this. He's experienced in this, right? And so because he's experienced this, he can do it. And that's this guy right here. Right there. That guy right there. But I will tell you this, even this guy will fall to this guy.
Nah.
All right. That's recasting, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome for bringing some integrity to this. And we're going to come. Okay, James, go ahead. You got something to say?
No. Was the puppet was really a puppet or was somebody acting that out?
It was a robotic or mechanical, I should say, puppet.
Oh, okay.
All right. That he was controlling radio-wise. All right, cool. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching that. We're going to come back with our final thoughts. Find out what we're going to talk about next Thursday right here on the last episode of 8 Tales of Terror. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
But at some point during the winter, he must have suffered some kind of a complete mental breakdown. He ran amok and killed his family with an axe.
You can rest assured, Mr. Ullman, that's not going to happen with me.
Last episode of 8 Tales of Terror. Spooky stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Spooky stuff right here for you here at Unpopular Reviews Entertainment. Next week, we're going to talk about The Shining, which is only scarier than this guy. But anyway, bottom line is we're back. Executive Consultant, see the superior to game and live or die. And we're going to get into our final thoughts of the evening. Let's go ahead and switch it over to final thoughts. We hear a lot of tomfoolery. Speaking of tomfoolery, let's go ahead and start with the biggest one.
You. Nothing.
Okay, so I my final thoughts are something that I alluded to earlier. One thing that I do have a regret that from the era of 2000 to 2009, 2010, when these movies were a phenomenon, I missed out. I felt like I didn't want to be conformist, but I honestly really regret it because this was an amazing roller coaster ride. The ending twist just set you up clearly for the next movie and for the next few movies. I mean, like you said earlier, they only planned on 3 and then they just kept making money because this was definitely was money. So if you're not getting it from what I'm saying, clearly this is a thumbs up.
All right.
Thank you. I didn't expect it to be that quick. Good job, Vic. Thumbs up. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next person, which is C, the superior. She's over here haunting operates.
Get out of here. This is a skull. If I was on my phone camera, you could tell, but it's the crappy cam here that you guys requested. By the way, you seem to like this one. This movie, this is my first time seeing this movie. I haven't seen any of the other Saw movies, none whatsoever. So what I thought about the movie. Let me tell you this straight out the gate. This is not my kind of movie. I did not really like the movie. I'll be honest. It's not my type of movie. So I had to go in there thinking, okay, I know I personally am not going to enjoy this movie, but will other people enjoy this movie? And I think, yeah, if this is your kind of thing, just like with Dread, the Judge Dread, that other movie we had to do, go check the backlog. I didn't like that movie, but I said, okay, well, this is something. If you go to the theaters to see this movie, you got what you paid for because this is why you came. This is exactly how I feel about Saw. You got what you came for. You knew what you were getting when you showed up. The twist ending was interesting. It was a twist, but for the most part, it's a kind of gory, kind of like thinking. You gotta think to like solve like not mysteries, but puzzles and stuff like that. It just wasn't for me. But I see how it has such a cult following. I see why people like it. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up for that reason and that reason alone. I wish we can give thumbs to the side, but we can't. So thumbs up. Look, executive.
I'm just saying, I want you to remember that next time you see Casper. All right.
I give that.
Now we're on Live and Die. Hate and Eyes. Yes, I know. Hate and Eyes. Go ahead.
Let me just say this, and I always love to give credit where credit's due. I wish I could say that for Chris, but I'm waiting. But Vic, I think that your not synopsis, but your final thought on this movie was great. I love the honesty of it. And Chrissy, I just want to commend you and say the same thing. And ladies and gentlemen, as you heard her say, she doesn't like to think when she's watching movies. So that's why she picked some of the things that she said.
Don't twist my words.
Chrissy always got to tease. Chrissy always got to. No, but seriously, I did like how you reviewed the movie. How you said this is not your type of thing, but would other people who like this genre like it? So I did appreciate how you couched that. All joking aside, the same thing is true for me. I like psychological thrillers. Chris is jabbing my selection next week for The Shining, but that's why I picked that movie. This movie, what would I do in a situation like that? Do I ever want to be in a situation where a pig masked man kidnaps me? No, I don't want a regular dude to kidnap me. I don't want to be kidnapped. I would not, could not. Okay. But that said, when I saw this movie and then the twist ending comes and you're thinking, wait, what did I miss? And you have to go back in your head and you're chewing over the movie. And yeah, you went back to the movie and you saw it again and again and again. And you wanted to get all the different pieces and figure out how they wove this tale together. And it's great. And if you saw it in the movie, as Vic said, you loved it. If you didn't, you were kicking yourself because you said, why did I wait to not see this movie? And that is why I love Saw 2 even better than Saw 1, which set it up. But I just want to give this, as I said, that this movie is peppered throughout. I'm going to put this picture up and talk throughout. If you notice on the table, this is Jigsaw. That the contraption that he has drawn out is the same one that we see on Amanda, and that's the bear trap. So we see that the movie is peppering who the actual killer is throughout, and these are some of the nuggets that you find. And again, if you're into horror, you would watch the movie over and over and over again, and you would see these different things. If you're into sci-fi, this is what people did with Star Wars. This is what people do with Star Trek, and they at the time it was an insult. But this is where geek culture comes from. We're passionate about these types of films. And I just love this month. We have our choices. We have our genres. We have our likes and dislikes. But I love the fact that we are all celebrating movies. Of course, this is the review for Saw. So let me get to it. It's a thumbs up for me.
All right. Thumbs up. There we go. Thumbs up from Live or Die.
I was going to put Live and Let Die, but I'll save that name for later.
All right.
All right, so I know this is going to come as a surprise to everybody about what I picked, but let's go ahead and get into some facts for Saw. This movie got a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb.com. Came out in 2004. This movie cost exactly $1,200,000 to make. It made $103 million worldwide. $56 million of it came from the United States. Hey, if that's not the definition of a success, I don't know what is. Yeah. The movie that we reviewed before this was Halloween. Halloween had almost exactly the same type of markup when it comes to the profit that they made of the movie. Cheap movie, big money. That's why a lot of people try to make gory horror movies because it doesn't cost much money to make. You don't have to get the biggest actors for it. And if it has any kind of remotely decent deaths and killings, and in Saw's case, psychological warfare, because actually the debate is always, is this a horror movie? A lot of people will argue, and I include myself, will argue this is not a horror movie. This is more of a thriller. You can say that. It's not Michael Myers. It's not Freddy Krueger. It's not Jason Voorhees, which is the holy trinity, for lack of a better phrase, of horror movies. Now, if you go to the best horror movies nowadays, you have to go to probably Insidious or The Conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, some things that I did not like about this movie. There's not much. I joke about Carrey's acting in this movie, but I think he killed it for the role that he was supposed to be playing. Adam, the writer director, played that role well because he wrote it. He said, "Hey, I know who could play this role, this shitty character well." Me, right? Zep, fine. And then Tobin Bell's Jigsaw, you can't remake that. Yeah. It won't work without him in that voice, that raspy, creepy voice that sounds so cold, so calculating, so menacing. Danny Glover as a stalker, creep. Yeah. He played it well. I don't know too many people that could play that role as well as Danny Glover did. There's not much wrong with this movie. I stood up and clapped. You know what that means? I stood up and clapped. This movie gets a thumbs up for me. And I'm so happy that after reviewing Casper, we got to watch Halloween and Saw in the same week. Yeah, that's right. I'm glad I mentioned Casper and the thumbs down happened. You're welcome. Take me off the, Chrissy. Your directing is terrible. All right, so
how am I the backhand director?
How am I the stutterer?
All I want to say is, week 2 has been the best week of Tales of Terror.
No,
you don't even believe that. You don't even believe that. What are you saying?
Well, honestly,
what are you talking about?
So far, honestly, I feel like everyone has had a good movie and a bad movie. My good movie was Hocus Pocus. My bad movie was Casper.
Can you start over?
Good movie, Chris, Saw. Your bad movie was that BS you brought us a couple days ago. Vic down there. You know your bad movie was See No Evil, and your good movie was I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Chrissy, I think that you need to apply the same kind of, all joking aside, apply the same kind of review technique that you did tonight to the other movies and see what you say. Remember, it's not about what you like. It's about what the audience who likes those type of movies. That's, you have to judge it on that, in my opinion, on that level, not on what you like.
I feel like I'm the most unbiased one on this panel here.
That's because you're female, and I have you know that my 2 movies were the highest rated on IMDb.com. Okay, because people love Halloween Saw. It started a lot. Mine started things. What did yours do?
People love a lot of movies that are bad. That's why freaking
Christy, you like what? Hocus Pocus and Casper. We got that.
Hocus Pocus is good. Stop foolery, James.
Hocus Pocus is a good movie.
Hocus Pocus.
Like I said, we all had one good movie.
You're talking about the two chicks who didn't know what pavement was, but knew what driving permits was. Yeah, okay, that movie made
good movie and a bad. I wonder what a bad movie was going to be. I wonder. Okay, your pick is next week for everyone watching. We have the next week is going to be Live or Die here. And it's going to be Dream Warriors.
The movies are Dream Warriors and The Shining. Now, if Chrissy, again, unbiasedly, as I gave her credit for tonight, or unless she becomes purely feminine and she goes back to her pure nature and just as petty, she's going to give it a bad thumbs down. But anybody objectively who knows anything about those movies and who sees them, they will give them a thumbs up, or they will find things to genuinely appreciate about them. As I did with See No Evil and I Know What You Did. As I did even with Hocus Pocus, I gave that a thumbs up, I believe. Yes, I did. Casper, I could not because the movie was all over the place. Even you agreed with that. And Halloween, to Chris's point, again, you can't deny that. That started an entire genre of films that lasted over 50 years.
You were doing good. You were doing so good, Jim.
It changed horror as we understand it to be. Whether it's a thriller or suspense, it changed it for 15 plus years. That in no way is a bad thing, right?
Twilight.
The same thing for this movie tonight. This movie came out because people thought that they were too clever and they were too sophisticated. This movie comes out in a nonlinear fashion again and turns the genre on its head and created a horror icon.
Facts.
That has to be respected. It has to be understood. The context of the year of the when this movie came out compared to the other movies relative to the time. Those have to be taken into consideration. Likewise, Dream Warriors, which is the true sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street, a horror, one of the Trinity, as Chris just said, That is the true sequel and the ending of what Wes Craven started. Right? The Shining is a classic and is known to be so. Now, you may not personally like it, but you cannot tell me that the movie is not well made. That is just a ludicrous statement.
Well, that remains to be seen. Tune in next week, everybody. Thank you for watching tonight. We have been Unpopular Review Entertainment. You all have a wonderful evening.
That was a good segue. I gotta give her credit for that. That was a good segue.